So right now we are talking about Microsoft Azure. Okay. So as you said, it is a cloud technology. That's right. It's a cloud technology. Okay. So before going to understand what is cloud technology, we should understand what is on-premise. Okay. So we should understand the difference between on-premise and cloud first. Okay. So basically we will start with what is Azure. Okay. And why is Azure? Why Azure is required? Okay. Then we will talk about the other features, that how it will give the benefit to us, benefit to industry, what will be our roles and responsibility, right? And we, because this course is all about understanding Azure Data Factory. So Azure Data Factory, first of all, comes under Azure Data Engineering profile. When we are talking about Azure data engineering, then definitely we should first understand about data, and what we should also understand about what are the engineering capabilities we can introduce with the data, and how it will make the things, useful when we are doing some of the engineering activity within the data. So let's begin to understand what is on-premise and what is cloud. Okay. Now, for example, if we talked about any industry, right? So if we talked about Pepsi, so Pepsi is a company, right? The basic, product with the CPG product, consumer product which Pepsi generate is cold drinks. Okay. So actual business of Pepsi is to manufacture the cold drink and sell to the consumers. There are different channels. First it is taking, some raw material from vendors, right? So if we talked about the business model of any company like Pepsi, so we have different vendors. Okay. And we have a company named as Pepsi. So what Pepsi does, Pepsi, you know, they prepare cold drinks. Okay. This is a consumable item, right? The people used to buy Pepsi and drink, right? It's an all season drink. Okay. So we have consumers also associated with this business model. Now, there are some distributors, right? And there are some retailers, okay? Retailers. And this is consumers. And in between Pepsi and distributors, we have bottlers also, something known as bottlers, right? So there are these many channels are there in this business, and we have vendors also, okay? So what will happen? Pepsi will build the cold drink. Bottlers will, pack this cold drink in the bottles, and finally, this distributors will, take that bottle and send it to retailers. And from retailers, consumer is buying the products from retailers. Okay, for example, Walmart is one of the retailers. Or in India, we have, Smart Bazaar is one of the retailer, right? And we are the consumers, right? So now to run this entire business, okay, what is the important element? Nowadays, everybody likes to do shopping with the help of online platforms like Amazon. We have Flipkart in India, right? Amazon across the globe, right? So when we are doing any business, right, data is very, very important these days. Okay. And why data is important? Because let's suppose if you want to give a order, place an order, you want to buy a laptop. What you did, you open amazon.in or amazon.com, you selected the laptop, you selected the laptop of Dell or HP or whatever laptop you want. Then you placed an order for that laptop. So what is happening when you are placing an order, you can see one order is getting generated, which is known as PO order, because you purchased it. That is known as purchase order. That purchase order is having numerous informations. The information like which model of laptop you have purchased. Agreed? The information like what is the delivery address. The address of yours is the delivery address, right? And we have other informations like what is the billing information, what is the total cost in dollars or INR, for that laptop. There are several other things, right? So this is only one single set of data. Based on this data, they what Amazon is doing, and Amazon is creating a sales order against this purchase order. Okay, because you purchase this laptop through Amazon creating one sales order, and Amazon is sending this sales order to seller. There are different sellers, but you have purchased a laptop with the help of only one seller. So whoever is your seller, a sales order will be generated for him, and as per this sales order, seller will, from his inventory, what seller will do, seller will pack that item and schedule for delivery to your address, right? So you can see data is playing an important role here. Without data you cannot do a business. Okay, so if you are managing the data in proper way, you would be able to do the business. Okay, agreed? So you are clear at this moment, there is no other thought about this. Okay, now see, when I'm talking about this business model where, if Pepsi has to, in the same way, if Pepsi is getting orders from these, distributors, okay, so distributors and retailers, they are actually placing the orders. I need, these many number of bottles of Pepsi. Correct. Now, to meet the requirement, to meet that order, the Pepsi has to first, you know, complete the finished products against that order. That product can only be completed when they have sufficient raw material. So against that, they are planning their productions. It is known as PP, production planning, right? So with this production planning, they are purchasing the raw materials from the vendors. They are making the raw materials and to a cold drink. The bottlers are packing the bottle in the bottles and they are sending it to distributors. Distributors is taking that bottle and sending it to retailers. And finally, we are getting the bottles, right? So at every instance, we have very high volume of data getting generated. Okay, so imagine Pepsi is a company, correct, where he has to deal with million or billions of data, correct, because it's a global company. Correct? Even if we have more than 120 plus countries are there, right, where Pepsi operates. Now, for these countries, every day there are million of data is getting generated, right? So if we have to manage all these things, it's very important to manage the data. Correct. Now we were talking about two concepts. Concept number one, what is on-premise, what is cloud? Because before moving into Azure, we should know why we are, what is Azure? Okay, so as you said, Azure is nothing but Azure is a cloud. Okay, okay, got it. Now, when we are talking about cloud, what is cloud? Okay, so before learning about the cloud, we should learn about on-premise. Okay, now you have now understood data is very important part. Okay, so data, what is data? Data is nothing but any kind of business information, any kind of business information, right? Business, why I'm saying business information, because you can have a data of any data, any information can be known as a data, but I am only interested about business information, those information which I can use to produce income is nothing but known as business information. For me, that is the more important part. Okay, now coming to this Pepsi. Pepsi is an organization which has to manage millions of data. Now, in front of Pepsi, there are two options. One option is what he will do. He will purchase a big hard disk. Okay. He will purchase a big hard disk. We are calling this as a database. Okay. In our industry. Okay, and he will have to set up a team who can handle this database. DBA team. Do you know about DBA? Database administrators, right? Then he has to manage the servers. Okay, so everything he has to do within their company, right? So this comes as a on-premise. For example, if I talked about your case, right? Whatever data you are currently having, you are storing this in a laptop, okay? Which is locally present in your laptop. What will happen if laptop crashes? You will lose the data, isn't it? But this will not crash and this will not lose because they have some backup system also. This DBA team also do a backup, so it is not getting lost so easily. But I'm telling you, this is the concept of on-premise. On-premise system means you're storing the data locally, okay, in their own setup. Now, what is the advantage and disadvantage of doing this? Okay, when I'm talking about advantage, one advantage is, your data will be securely available to you, right? Data will be secure, isn't it? Why data will be secure? Okay, because you are not sending this data outside to your company, correct? So nobody can easily get the access of this data, right? So it is securely available. The disadvantage is, what is the disadvantage? Can anybody talk about the disadvantage, guys? Any response? Okay. Now, when I'm talking about disadvantage, when you're storing the data within your organization, so Pepsi is a company who produces the cold drink, right? Who make the cold drinks, but his main business is to make the cold drinks. But what he's doing, he's managing the data, he's setting up the team, he's managing the server, he's storing that data, right? So he's working like an IT company, correct? But this company don't have so much of exposure and experience, so they might commit mistakes, they might invest unnecessary more amount, right? And they cannot handle it properly, right? So disadvantage is, for example, I'm telling you, for example, this Pepsi is having, imagine, 1 terabytes of data to store, 1 TB of data to store, okay? But can he only buy 1 terabyte of database? No, he has to invest money for 500 terabytes, because he has to purchase the database with a capacity of 500 terabytes, because he know that in future the data will be growing, right? As for example, if more people are coming and purchasing and buying the cold drinks, right, then data will be increasing day by day, so definitely he has to invest a lot of money. So disadvantage is what? Investment. The This company has to do a lot of investment in setting up this database. This is the disadvantage, right? Even if he's having 1 terabyte of data, but he is doing a lot of investment, right? Now, to resolve this two problem, okay, the companies like Microsoft, we have companies like Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, okay. So what they did, they offered a cloud technology, cloud computing. So first of all, we should know about cloud computing. Okay. The meaning of cloud is, for example, right now, you all are using mobile phones, isn't it? Right? In mobile phones, you have, you have so many photos and videos, correct? So imagine your mobile phone internal storage is like, you can say 128 GB or you can say 256 GB. These are normally available these days, right? With Android phones or iPhones both, right? 128 GBs and 256 GBs are there, right? So, but you are using the application like WhatsApp, another Instagram, where you are having, more number of videos, right? And photos. So this can, consume, right? So once it is consumed, you are also taking the backup of these photos in your Google Photos, isn't it? You're doing this, right? But Google Photos is also having a capacity of 15 GB, right? So once this 15 GB is getting expired, Google Photo is giving you a message that you need to increase your space, and that will be chargeable to you, right? So actually, even if your phone got lost somewhere or it got crashed, but your photos and videos would be available, you can recover easily from Google Photos. Even if you go with another, phone, you can log in with that Google Photo and all your photos and videos, everything will be available. But it depends on, how much, size or memory is allocated to you by Google. If you're purchasing a paid subscription, they will give you more space. Agreed? So this is known as cloud. If you're storing your photos, videos, everything on a Google, this is nothing but a concept of cloud. So you are actually storing your photos and videos not on the phone, but you are storing this photo and videos on cloud, right? If you are not using this service at all, and you're storing this entire your photos, videos, everything in phone, that is known as on premise. Is it clear now, the difference between on premise and on cloud? In a similar way, if I am storing the data, if Pepsi is storing their data in their own company by setting up the database and team and everything, this is known as on-premises storage. But if Pepsi is choosing, no, no, I will not, set up the database, I will not set up the team, I will not set up the server, I will not set up the IT stuff. What I will do, I will, purchase the cloud space from Microsoft. So in Microsoft, we have Azure as a cloud. In Amazon, the same, we have AWS. AWS stands for Amazon Web Services. And in Google, we have GCP, Google Cloud Platform, right? So all these three big companies have their own, provision. So you can imagine this way now. So for example, if you have a house, if you built a house, okay, this house is 5-story building you have built. Okay. Now, in this 5-story building, you will only live in one story, right? First, only one story, right? Rest of the 4 stories vacant. What you will do? You will offer tenant to live in the rest of the 4 stories, and these tenant will give you the rents, right? Exactly. So these tenants don't have their own house. They are coming in your house. They are paying the monthly rent. In a similar way, this data, whatever 1 terabyte of data is there with for Pepsi, what they will do, they will store in Microsoft Azure. So they purchase the subscription of Microsoft Azure. Okay. And with that subscription, if today Pepsi is storing 1 terabyte of data, Pepsi will only pay dollar value or any amount related to 1 terabyte only. Okay. If tomorrow, if this 1 terabyte increased to 2 terabytes, then Pepsi will only pay for 2 terabytes. In case tomorrow it is decreased for 500 GBs, right? The Pepsi will only pay the amount for 500 GBs. So what is the advantage? The advantage is investment. We don't have an investment. Initial investment is nothing but zero. Okay, they will pay as the data size increase or decrease, right? So definitely they are saving money, right? And they are not taking any burden of setting up all these things in their system. Okay. Mm, because if they have to do it, because their primary business is not to deal with the IT, their primary business is to do a manufacturing of cold drinks, isn't it? Right. So this is a concept of on premise and on cloud. Now clear? Okay. Now coming to the next part of it, more about what. So we were talking about what is Azure. So we got the answer. What is Azure? Azure is nothing but a cloud computing technology. Cloud computing technology. When I'm saying cloud computing, what is computer? Computer is the machine, right? Which where you can store the data, where you can see the data, where you can do any kind of computation on top of data, right? So when I'm saying cloud, why we call this as a cloud? Because cloud is nothing but which holding water actually. Cloud is holding the water, right? In a similar way, cloud can go from here and there. Okay. So these are the few things using which we adopted this word cloud. But when I'm saying cloud, basically it means that this Microsoft company, how this is getting built. Okay, let me talk about that also. So imagine now Microsoft is a company, right? And we all are using operating system from Microsoft. Okay, the company built by Bill Gates. So all our Excel, PowerPoint, Word are the product of Microsoft, right? And operating system are the product of Microsoft. So Microsoft saw that this is a big problem with all the organization, that they have to manage the data in their own system. So instead of that, what I will do, I will, purchase a big database. This database will be of, a big towers, multi-towers building, right? This database. So this database has infinite, storage capacity. You can think in this way. However, there's nothing concept like infinite, but you have very large storage capacity, right? So this database they have placed in US, multiple zones of US. They have placed in Africa, or you can say Asia. They have placed in China. They have placed in Australia. So there are multiple places they have kept, right? And what they did, they have connected this database through internet. Okay, so it means if it is connected to the internet, we can easily access this database. This data we can easily access. We can push, we can read, we can write, we can do all the operations because it is connected with internet. So it can be accessible from anywhere. Because right now, if I am sitting in different country, you are sitting in different country, but I am giving you the sessions to you, right? Why? Because of the internet. So data can move or can be accessible when we are connecting with the internet, right? So this is the concept. Now, what they did, they call this as a Azure, Amazon call this as a AWS, and Google call this as a GCP. Now, these are known as data centers. So it means that these companies have huge number of data centers in US, Asia, right? So all the data, all the Azure database are there. Now, if a Pepsi has to store a data, what they will do, they will purchase a subscription with Microsoft, and one space is allocated for Pepsi, right? One space is allocated for different company, correct? So this is how they are managing, right? So this is the concept of Azure. So that's why it is known as cloud, because this is nothing but it is connected with internet and can be accessible from anywhere. Okay guys, so we talked about cloud, we talked about on-premise, and I believe this is more clear now. Okay. Now coming to the next part of it about our course. Okay. So We are learning about Azure Data Factory, and today is the first class. So today we will learn some basic concept, a basic overview, okay, about what is ADF, okay, and why ADF is important, okay. And second thing, we can also talk about, how we can structure this course, how we can learn this concept. Fine. And tomorrow we will talk about to create this subscription because we need to create a subscription. Fine. Okay. And we will take your queries also. Okay. So now talking about ADF. So the full form of ADF is Azure Data Factory. So before going in depth of ADF, we should know about data. Okay. So basically, what is data? So the set of meaningful information is data. Right? This is a very basic definition for data. If any information, if it is generates any meaning, that is known as data. Agree? Okay. Now, fine. So we understood that why data and how data is important to do any business. Okay. In that case, we have multiple profiles generated. For example, I'm telling you one basic things. You all are using Uber and Ola, right? So Uber and Ola is very prominent for cab booking. Okay, all right. Now, if you have to book a cab from one place to another place, you will quickly open your Uber or Ola account. You're booking the cab. Okay, and uh, basically you are feeding some data. You are feeding what is your destination, right? You are feeding what is your source, what is the source location from where you need a cab, and what is the destination, right? On the basis of this information, what this application is doing, application is calculating the number of kilometers, okay, and it is also checking what all cabs are available nearby you, correct? And based on that, this data, it is generating some price, okay, the price, and it is also giving you more information that how much time it will come for that cab driver to reach at your doorstep, right? So there are some many other things are getting generated, but how it is possible? It is only possible with the help of data, right? Agreed. So data has a more power to do a business these days. Data has more power to make a decisions also, right? But with this concept of data, first of all, we should know about data. So data is basically of three types. Okay. One is known as structured data. So the first thing we understood is what is data? Data is nothing but a set of meaningful information. But again, data can be divided into three types. One is structured, another one is known as semi-structured, and third one is known as unstructured. Okay. When I'm saying structured data, simply it means that you have some data which is, you know that this data will be available to me using in this format. So this is non-structured data. For example, we all have gone to the school, right? So in school, we are getting some report cards. So in the report card, we are having some data like this: name, roll number, class, okay, subject, then we have grade, something known as that, and we have percentage, right? So we know that this data will be available with the same structure. Structure is nothing but name of this is columns. The column will be same. The data type will be same, right? So even if they are giving the result for first standard, the same structure, second standard, same structure, So this is not a structured data. The meaning of structured data is we have definition of column will remain same or standard. This is not going to be changed. This is not a structured data. When we are saying unstructured data, first leave this semi-structured for a park this for a moment. When we talk about unstructured data will be like that. There is no structure. Data can come in any form. For example, these days with the advent of social media, you know, people are using a lot of data which is unstructured data. For example, you are using Instagram, you are using Facebook, people are doing a lot of comment. That is also kind of data. So we can generate our business using that data as well, right? So those kind of data is known as unstructured data, and semi-structured data is some part of it is a structure and some part of it is unstructured. This is known as semi-structured data. Anyway, we are not going in depth of it, but we are trying to learn another thing which is known as data engineering profile. We should also talk about data visualization profile, and we should also talk about data science profile, guys. And why I'm discussing this, because we talked about data. So with the help of this data, what all things we can do, what is our scope? However, Azure Data Factory, when I'm talking about what is Azure Data Factory, so Azure Data Factory is a tool, is a cloud-based tool where we can make our data engineering pipelines. Okay, then we will talk about what is pipelines and data engineering pipelines. Okay. So today we are only going an overview and basic class. Okay. Then I will give one document also. I will show you that document. That document, I will go through in within 3 days, the first three classes. Okay. In detail. And then we will go, then once we purchase the subscription, then we will go with actual hands-on practice. Isn't it? Okay. Now coming to data engineering. Okay, now to handle this data, this Uber use case which I just produced you for of cab booking, right? We have something known as data engineering. What is data engineering? Okay, so data engineering is basically but nothing. It is known as ETL. Okay, so I know you guys have heard, or might some of you have heard it before also. Okay, some of you has is hearing it for the first time. So ETL, E stands for extraction, T stands for transformation, and L stands for loading. Okay, so wherever we see these things are happening, we call this as a data engineering. Okay, I will come in detail. The another thing is data visualization. Okay, what is data visualization? So visualization means we are seeing from the eyes. In a simple English lemon meaning is whenever we are able to see anything from the eyes and we can build some perception in our mind, right? For example, if we are seeing, some person who looks very decent and professional, we made some perception about that person. If we are looking another person who is not very decent and not very well dressed, we are making some other perceptions in our mind, right? So data visualization is very very important because this will help to take important decisions, right? So for example, if you have a company like Reliance, right? And if we have some graphs, the graphs is showing that Reliance growth rate is exponentially growing from top to bottom, right? Then you will made a perception that it's a very good company. You can do a lot of investment using that company. You can purchase some, good trade mutual funds or shares to that company, right? So this data visualization is very, very important. It means that when you are having this field, you will create some reporting and dashboarding stuff. Okay. And third thing is data science profile. The meaning of data science is, for example, what do you mean by science? Science means something you can generate some logic with the help of some other factors. Okay. So, for example, I can give you the example. So, Uber is a best use case of data science. And how it is best use case of data science? Because when you are calculating the price of a cab, it will not always depend on some mathematical expressions, like it will depend on other factors also. For example, uh, if it is raining, right, and if it is night, the charges will be high, right? So price is dependent on some other factors also, right? If you are a valued customer, if your credit is very good, the charges will be less for you, correct? But if you are not a valued customer, or there are some previous installment or money was not paid to you, they will import some fine penalties to you, right? So, and if there are number of cabs available nearby is very less, it means the demand is very high, the price will increase, right? So we are calculating the price not with some mathematical expressions, but we are considering many other factors, and those factors will contribute, either price will be high or price will be low. So those are known as data science models. So, guys, are you following with me? Okay. Because, this looks a bit boring initially for one or two class, at least first class, because I need to set up a background for you guys. Okay. Otherwise, you will not be able to understand what is going on, why we are learning this and all. Okay. Anyways, so data science, we are creating AI and ML models. What do you mean by AI? AI means artificial intelligence. Okay. If today I am giving you a session, okay, tomorrow there might time comes when we will one robot is sitting in front of you and he will give a session to you. Okay. And it's very easy, because what I will do, I will create some scripts, documents, and I will just send to that robot. And what robot will do, robot will give this session and they will resolve your queries also based on those documents, right? So this is known as artificial intelligence. So this all comes with the help of data science. So these days, these are the prominent job profiles in the market. Okay. But everything starts, the beginning point is data engineering only. Because to achieve your visualization, reporting and dashboarding, the data engineering is a must, right? So contribution of the data and analytics market, we have data engineering at the top level, because you have to first make the data in a usable form, right? So the concept of data engineering is, first is extraction. Now I'm coming to in detail with the data engineering. ETL, extraction. So if you have a data, okay, for example, now I'm coming with some business use case. Okay. Now imagine you are doing a business of, let's say, the business of Pepsi only, right? So, Pepsi is having huge volume of data flowing in their system. Okay. Why? Because they are purchasing raw material. So vendors are supplying, chemicals. Vendors are supplying coke. Well, vendors are supplying some, water and other things as well, right? So those vendor details is nothing but the data. So there are different sources, and they have SAP systems. You know about SAP system? SAP is a ERP tool, right? So the basic concept of SAP system is they will manage the business effectively, right? For example, if today you are going to Walmart or Smart Bazaar, right? You are purchasing anything. So all the entries they are doing with this, they are doing the billing by scanning the barcodes. right? So they are managing those, data within the system with the help of barcodes. This is only possible because of ERP, right? Because billing software is nothing but a ERP tool. So similarly, data is in SAP. Most of the companies uses data SAP system as a ERP tool, right? So one of the sources ERP. They have a data in Excel. They have a data in you can say SQL database, SQL DB, and they have data stored in any applications, right? So you can see that this Pepsi is having these many data sources. Okay. Now imagine you have to create some data visualization, or you have to create some, basically in a layman word, you have to create some dashboard or report, you can say. This report will tell, total PNL. PNL stands for profit and loss report. Correct? Now to handle this data, we have these many data sources. So you have to first extract this data. What you have to do is you have to first extract this data and load into, where you will load? You will load in some system. Okay. Just a second. I'm searching for, I don't know. This, here it is. Okay. So, so this data is getting stored in Azure. Okay. Why Azure? Because Azure is on cloud, right? And before creating a report in Power BI, what I have to do is, so here is the report. So I have to create a PNL report. Okay. So the data is stored in SAP. So I need to first, you know, extract the data from SAP. I need to also extract the data from Excel, and I need to also extract the data from SQL DB, right? Uh, and other applications. So these are my source system. So basically what activity I have to perform? The first thing is I have to do the extraction. Okay. Then I have to do a transformation. And finally I have to do a loading, which is known as ETL. Okay, so extraction simply means that first I have to extract the data, and transformation simply means that if I'm extracting the data, I should not store as it is, right? I should first clean the data if it is required. For example, I told you data could be of structured data could be of unstructured data, and data could be of semi-structured data. But if you want to use it for reporting purpose or data science purpose, right, you cannot store any junk values, right? You should have to clean the data, and that cleaning is nothing but known as transformation. So before loading into the system, you need to clean the data. So the concept is, you in data engineering, you are doing these three activities. Okay. And when it comes for Azure, Azure gives you a concept of as a tool which is known as Azure Data Factory tool. So what this tool does, this tool, you know, give you option to create pipelines, pipelines, okay, which is known as ADF pipelines. These pipelines is capable of extraction. Within these pipeline, you can put the logic for transformation. Transformation simply means what you can do. You can do some filter, you can do some join, you can do some sorting, okay. So, and you can do anything. You can create some additional column. Okay. So I know in this batch we have the people who has no IT experience, right? So I'm just giving some more information like filters. So for example, if we have a data, correct? But you have a data for entire globe. Okay, means all 120 plus countries data is there. But in this report, you only do a reporting for US or US plus Canada. So what you will have to do in a region, you should you should not, put all the data within the Azure. You will only put the data for US and Canada, right? So what you will do, you will apply the filter. So before loading, you will apply the filter. So how you can do that? You can do that within the pipeline. The second thing is join. What do you mean by join? The join simply means that, for example, if you have, some GST your government is paying, right? We need to pay the GST. So there are different GST amount. So this GST is not available. This is available in some other mapping file, some other Excel sheet it is available, right? So I need to find out the GST value, and on the basis of that GST value, I need to calculate the final price because I am creating P&L report, right? Profit and loss report will only be, created when you are considering everything, when you are considering tax, deducting tax and all, right? So GST is available in different files. So definitely you need to join your existing file with this mapping file, and using that GST calculation, you will do the final pricing, final P&L you can generate, right? So this is GST. So you have to do a joining. What do you mean by sorting? So sorting simply means, for example, you have list of people starting with A, B, C, D, right? There is a sorting means ascending order or descending order sorting, correct? So wherever sorting is required, you can do that. Additional column means if you want to, add, there is a column, there is always a column from the source, but you want to finally calculate the total net income, okay, and net revenue, basically not income, because this is for P&L. So net revenue is nothing but the final amount which I earned with this transaction is the net revenue, correct? So net revenue is a new column that you have to create, and this net revenue will be having some formulas, right? So this all you can do in transformation. And finally you have to do a loading. Loading means you will load the final values or final clean data in one table, you can say, within the Azure, and using that table you can see the report. And once this is done, you can also go for ML algorithm, right? So is this concept clear of data engineering? And basically, when I'm talking about, we started from learning what is ADF. So what is ADF? So ADF is a cloud based environment. Okay, first of all, it is a cloud based environment or tool. ADF is a tool, cloud based tool, using which, what you can do, using which you can create ETL pipelines to extract, transform, and load data within Azure. Okay. So you just have to understand the concept. You don't have to write any university exam, right? So it's okay, even if you're not well versed with this definition. But the concept is, it is a tool using which you can do your ETL operations. Okay. Now I'm telling you, for example, now you understood, right? You understood that you have something, the data is available outside of this cloud, like you have a SAP system, you have some non-SAP systems also, right? You have some file system also, you have some applications also, right? You have some, you can say, another external databases also, like SQL databases there, right? And so on. These are what? These are your source of data, right? Because if you're doing a business, you are doing business from these source, multiple source of data is there, correct? Now this is a Microsoft Azure. Okay. So in this Microsoft Azure, this is a cloud basically. Now what you have to do, you have to bring this data within the Azure, right? So what you have to do, ADF is a tool, okay? So using which you can create a pipeline, okay? So basically you are creating a pipeline and this pipeline will, bring your source data, okay, within the cloud, okay? Okay, now, so why ADF is important? ADF is important to make this data orchestration possible. This is known as data orchestration. Orchestration means movement of data from one system to another system. From on-premise, within the cloud also we can create the ADF and all, right? Okay, I would, I have created one, okay, document for you. This document is having, very good piece of information, first of all. Okay. So when we start with this, the Azure, you can talk about what is Azure. Azure is a flexible cloud computing platform. So in cloud computing, there are three services which, they offer. Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service, right? So in next class, you can come with your research about these things. What are these? But I will tell you also, but you should come up. Then what is the purpose of Azure? What we are doing with the Azure? So Azure will provide, cloud computing concept, right? It will store your data securely and help you to process the data within the cloud, and it offers the global reach through a vast network of data center. As I mentioned that, if you talked about Azure, there are multiple data centers. Multiple does not mean there are 100 or 200 data centers. There are, I think, with the current data, they have like 5 or 10, between 5 to 10 data centers across the globe, right? So if one data center is available or another one is down, you can see the data with the help of other data centers only, right? Core benefit. What is the benefit of Azure? It is a scalable. What do you mean by scalable? Scalable means, for example, if today you are, using a cloud environment, Azure environment, for particular region like Canada, now you have to scale this to US, scale this to India, or scale this across the globe. You can easily do that. No need for fresh implementation and all. Okay, so it is flexible. Why it is flexible? Because it gives you opportunity, because earlier if you are using one database, either you will use SQL Server, IBM DB2, Teradata, right? So only you have to hire that professional. It will not allow you multiple programming language, but this cloud is giving you programming language for SQL, Python. But don't worry, here in this Azure Data Factory, no programming language is required. Very basic SQL is required, which can be achieved. Fine. It is secure and cost effective. Why it is cost effective? As I already told you, because if you have to store only 1 TB of data, you will only pay for 1 TB of data. If tomorrow, if you are storing lesser data than 1 TB, then you have to pay as per your storage, right? So this is much cheaper. Now coming about the core components of Azure, okay, you can leave this as of now, or if you have interest, you can also go with that. We have a concept of virtual machine, right? We have Azure App Services and so on. Okay, so I'm not going to cover each and everything right now, but I will give this document to you, correct, for your understanding. Later on, as we progress, you would be able to, check about all these things. Okay, fine. So we are almost an hour now. Okay, so in next session, let me first